Hello everyone, my name is Alex and welcome to this video lecture on Speaking Unit 1 from the Mindset for IELTS book, Level 1. Today we're going to be talking about a really common theme in the IELTS test, which is family and relationships. So first, let's review some vocabulary that can be used to describe families. So the most basic terms are the family members, such as father, mother, brother, sister, grandmother, and grandfather. And we can use these words to talk about our own family or describe the families of other people. We can also use many adjectives to describe our families, and here are some examples. So we have best. Number one, best. This means the most important or closest. For example, my sister is my best friend. Number two is close. This means emotionally connected. For example, I have a close relationship with my father. Number three is happy. This means joyful or content. For example, my family is always happy when we're together. Number four is large. This means having many members. For example, I come from a large family with 6 siblings. Number 5 is small. This means having few members. For example, I have a small family with only my parents and 1 sibling. Number 6 is typical. This means average or normal. For example, my family is pretty typical. We have dinner together every night. So some more useful phrases we should use are adverbs of frequency. And these can be used to describe how often we do things with our family. So here are some examples of adverbs of frequency. Sometimes. This means occasionally or not often. For example, sometimes we go out to eat as a family. Often. This means frequently or regularly. For example, I often spend time with my sister. There's never. This means not at all. For example, I never see my extended family. We have rarely. Rarely means infrequently or not very often. For example, we rarely take family vacations. And always. This means every time or constantly. For example, we always celebrate holidays together as a family. Okay, let's move on to some IELTS specific tips related to this topic of family. So, when you're answering questions about your family, be sure to give specific details and examples. So, for example, instead of saying, I have a brother, you could say, I have one older brother named John, who is a doctor. Another tip is to vary your vocabulary and use synonyms to avoid repeating the same words over and over again. So, for example, instead of saying, my family is close, you could say, my family is very tight-knit. All right, let's practice some IELTS Part 1 questions related to this topic of family. So I'm going to give you some sample answers to help you understand, what the responses, what kind of responses the examiners are looking for. So here's question 1. Can you tell me about your family? Sure. I come from a pretty typical family. I have a mother and a father and one older brother who is a doctor. We're all very close and we try to spend time together as much as possible. Do you have a large or small family? Well, I have a fairly small family, just my parents and one sibling. But I also have a lot of extended family too, like cousins and aunts and uncles, so it feels bigger than it is. Who do you spend most of your time with in your family? I spend a lot of time with my sister since we're close in age and we have a lot of shared interests. But I also make time for my parents and extended family members whenever I can. Okay, let's move on to this question. Do you often eat meals with your family? This is a great question to gauge how important family meals are to the candidate. And family meals are a common topic on the IELTS exam. So I think it's important to be prepared to talk about them. Here's a sample answer. Yeah, I try to eat meals with my family as often as possible. We usually have dinner together every night, and sometimes we have breakfast or lunch together on the weekends. I think it's important to have this time together as a family because it gives us a chance to catch up on each other's lives and talk about our day. Plus, my mom is an amazing cook, so I always look forward to her meals. You can notice how this candidate acknowledges the importance of family meals and shares a personal experience. It's important to add the specific details to make your answer more interesting and engaging for the examiner. Okay, let's move on to the final question. What do you usually do together as a family? This question allows the candidate to showcase their creativity and maybe share some fun family activities that they enjoy. So here's a sample answer. We do a lot of different things together as a family, but some of our favorite activities are going hiking, playing board games, and watching movies. We also like to try out new restaurants and cuisines together, which is always a fun adventure. Recently, we started doing family game nights where we play different games and have friendly competition. It's always a lot of fun and a great way to bond as a family. Again, notice how this answer shares specific activities that the family enjoys doing together, and this adds a kind of depth and personality to the answer, making it more memorable for the examiner. So these are just a few examples of how you could answer questions about your family. So really, just remember to speak clearly and confidently, add personal details to make your answers more engaging. And with practice, you'll be able to tackle any family-related questions that come your way on the IELTS test. So that's all for today's lecture on the topic of family. Remember that the key to performing well on the IELTS test is to practice, practice, practice. So why not take some time now to reflect on your family, practice talking about them using the vocabulary we learned today, and who knows, maybe you'll even surprise yourself by discovering something new about your own family. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon for our next lesson.